Hi readers, welcome back to my channel Books, Ink, and Paper. I'm Lori and I'm here to talk to you today about books that I have read and some that I want to read that are written about a pandemic. Now I know that some people don't love reading books about a pandemic during a pandemic, but I'm feeling pretty centered and calm about what is right now, so I think I'm okay with it. And one of them I already started, and I'm really determined to finish before the end of the year. So let's talk about the list I pulled. So I'll start with the two that I've read of this list, and the first one is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I don't own a copy of this book, and I'm trying to recall, I read it years ago, and I'm trying to recall how I accessed it, and it was probably the library, but nevertheless, I almost bought it once on a trip to Chicago, and I didn't, and then later I read it and I regretted not picking it up. So that's a book I probably need to look at the next time I go to the book depository website. But I loved that novel so much. So it's the story of a virus that starts to kill everyone, essentially in the United States or the world, I guess. And the news is talking about it all the time, and it's really like it kills people. It's not like, I mean, coronavirus kills people, but there is no like maybe you'll survive it, maybe you won't, except for a small group of people who are not affected by it for reasons unknown to them. So there's a very tiny group that is spared from dying from this, and they have to watch the deterioration and destruction of the rest of the world as a result of everyone dying, and transportation no longer accessible in terms of flights or gas stations not operating, and just a variety of things. So they have to figure out a way to survive. And it is a uniquely plotted book. It ends up following a tribe of performers that go around different places, and when people are still living, they perform Shakespearean plays. And a lot of people think, I don't know, that sounds so weird. I will tell you that it is really one of my all-time favorite novels I've ever read. It created a desire in me to read more of Emily St. John Mandel, which I have done. Maybe one day I'll do a TBT about her. I probably should, because she's just a brilliant, beautiful writer. And I gave it 5 stars. So I highly recommend it. The next one I read years ago when my kids were young, and I remember this for a reason I'll tell you in a minute, but it's called The Hot Zone by Richard Preston. This is nonfiction, which is even scarier. And it talks about the origins and the spread of the Ebola virus and other hemorrhagic diseases and viruses that quickly spread and infected people, and kind of what the response in different countries was and how it came to other countries and migrated, and the researchers that looked at this and how to contain it and what to do. And it was so frightening. I remember feeling literally like, and I can be a very overly dramatic person now, but I was much more so when I was younger and a little bit less, I don't know, grounded. But I was afraid to like leave my house for a while. Like I didn't want my kids to go to school. I just was really, really afraid, because I thought if this could happen, so easily and quickly, it could happen again. So I give you this warning to say, I don't know how I would feel if I reread it, and I might want to reread it now. And if you're a little bit on the fence about whether these books would make you feel at peace, this one might not, because of the fact that it is a true story, and we're kind of living in this current true story, which is, let's just say, a little anxiety provoking for most of us. So, but I'm kind of settling in now. I have a routine, and I feel like I know enough to be able to keep myself and my family safe as much as possible. And, I feel like we're pretty healthy, resilient people, but you just never know, right? I mean, there's a risk there for sure. The next one is the one that I started and really want to finish before the end of the year. Well, one of them that I want to finish before the end of the year, and that is The Stand by Stephen King. I have long enjoyed Stephen King, and I started a deliberate readathon to go through his from start to end, and with some friends, and we didn't get very far. And The Stand was like the third book he ever published, I think, and that's where we all got stuck. And then I picked it up again last year. I have it on ebook on my Kindle, and I picked it up on a trip to Europe, so I thought I'd have a lot of time to start it, and I did. And then it wasn't that it wasn't good, I just didn't get back to it when I got back. Sometimes that happens to me. Like, I get really involved in a book when I'm on a trip, and then I come back and I unpack, and I sort of just put that book aside for some reason. I don't know why, but I do. So I want to begin again. I'm not going to start at the beginning because I do have a pretty good memory of what happened. Stephen King's books usually stick with me pretty well. I'd like to finish it. So this is also the story of a virus. I think it's contained, though, to one particular community. At least the book is contained to one particular community. And people start to get this virus, and then they get really, really sick, and they also are dying. But there are a couple of people that seem to be spared as well. And so they're the people, I guess, that are carrying on and finding out the root of all of this. But there's a government conspiracy there too, I think. And yeah, so Stephen King, classic, and perfect time for me to pick that back up, because in October, it's my intention to only read horror and thrillers of some sort. So it's really probably time for me to get back to The Stand. Some people tell me that that is their favorite Stephen King novel ever. So that's pretty high praise. So it's very well written, though, but it's very long. And I have the uncut version, which when he published it, it probably had several hundred less pages to it. So that's another thing. It's a really big book, really big. I don't know how big it would be if I owned it physically. I've never even really looked for it in the stores. Another one I started listening to and didn't finish, but I was enjoying it, is called The Dreamers by Karen Thompson Walker. My daughter has it on one of her, I think her Audible account or something. And so we log into each other's accounts and listen to what we each purchased. And I started it once and I liked it a lot. I just wasn't quite enough into it to keep going with it. I guess some other shiny object called a book caught my eye, and so I went on to something else. But I would like to get back to that. And this one is about, as I remember, it starts with teenagers, and I don't know. In fact, let me look. Yes, it is. It's just teenagers or college-aged students that fall asleep and they don't wake up. And so it starts happening in the beginning at one of the colleges, and it's multiple girls, and then there's a quarantine, and I think it does eventually spread to other people. They also, when they fall asleep, so they don't die, but when they fall asleep, their brain activity is so high that it's clear that they are dreaming about something. So that's the fascination about this one for me, is that they're dreamers. This one has 3.66 stars for a rating. A lot of people call it magical, and I think that that's a really good way to present a pandemic. That's kind of how Station 11 was too. It was just in a very beautiful, magical way, I think. And the last one is The Pull of the Stars by Emma Donoghue. I just saw that this one was being released a month or two ago, and I think it came out toward the end of July. It intrigued me. So I started another one of Emma Donoghue's books a few years ago, listened to it. This is a theme for me here, and that was a year that I wasn't really listening to and reading a lot, so we'll just give it that. But in 2016, she released The Wonder, and I started listening to that, and I really did like it, and I don't remember why I didn't get back to it, but I do still have it. But The Pull of the Stars, I think, was released sooner than it was planned to be released, because of the pandemic. So Emma Donoghue is great about, I think, about writing really unique plots and really having a unique idea or unique story. So this one's getting good buzz. It's got a solid, a little over 4-star rating. And Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library got an advanced reader's copy of it and gave it 5 stars. So I really trust a lot of her recommendation. So this one is set in Ireland, and Nurse Julia Powell is working in an understaffed hospital in the city center, working with expectant mothers who are succumbing to a virus, and it is a flu, and they're all quarantined together. And there's a doctor who's running from the police, a young volunteer, and Julia. And so they're all working together to support these patients, these pregnant moms. That to me sounds really, really great too. I don't know if this is set in the past, but the wonder definitely was. Yes, this one is. It's set in 1918. So historic fiction, Emma Donoghue, who I really think is a great writer, and this sounds like a great plot to me. Those are my current kind of pandemic quarantine reads that I'm either recommending to you or that I want to read or finish very, very soon. I'll let you know how that goes. Maybe in the next couple of months, I'll have an update on the progress of my pandemic reads, and hopefully in a couple months we'll be out of this pandemic. But let me know if you read pandemic reads or books about viruses, or if that's just too much for you. Please understand, I totally get it, and I may decide they're too much for me too at some point. I think that it's a fascinating topic right now. My vet, when I was having my cat seen a couple of months ago, said that he was reading a book about the Spanish flu, and that also interests me. So I may look at some nonfiction at some point about the Spanish flu and the similarities, I guess, there. But I remember speaking of my cat, I remember seeing a photo from on a meme, I guess, that somebody shared about the Spanish flu, where the family was all masked and their cat was masked too. They were holding their cat, taking a family photo, and the cat also had a mask on. That fascinates me. And especially in light of what we're going through now and how similar that is for us. I see people doing porch photography and doing family photos with masks and things. It's just so unique and different and scary. Take good care of yourself. Don't read anything that's going to upset you or cause you any more stress than you already have. And thanks for joining me today. If you haven't already, I'd love it if you would like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. And I love the support. I appreciate all of you. I love having conversations with you in the comments. And whatever you're reading, have a happy reading day. Bye.